Chelsea Norris had always known who her dad was. Growing up, she watched him on TV and in movies. Chuck Norris, the tough guy who never backed down, who could take down 5 bad guys with one move, and who stood for something bigger than just action scenes, discipline, respect, and strength. But even though her father was a legend, Chelsea never tried to live in his shadow. She wanted to find her own way, build her own life, and most of all, earn her own place in the world of martial arts. From a young age, she trained alongside her dad. She didn't do it for fame or attention. She did it because she loved the art, the way it made her feel strong, focused, and in control. Her father taught her that karate wasn't about fighting. It was about self-control, inner peace, and respect for others. Every lesson he gave her stuck deep in her heart. She learned how to stand tall, how to stay calm under pressure, and how to treat people with kindness, even when they weren't kind back. As she grew older, Chelsea started training at different dojos. Some were great, places where students worked hard, respected each other, and helped one another grow. But not every place was like that. Some people saw her name and thought she was just another celebrity kid trying to look tough. They didn't know her story. They didn't know how many hours she spent practicing, how many times she got up after falling, or how much effort she put into perfecting every move. One afternoon, she walked into a new dojo, hoping to get in a good workout and maybe learn something new. The building was modest but clean, and the smell of wood floors and sweat filled the air. A few students were already warming up, stretching and chatting. She introduced herself to the front desk and told them she was there to train. No special treatment, no big announcement, just a student looking to practice. She changed into her uniform quietly and stepped onto the mat. As she began warming up, a few eyes turned toward her. One student, a guy who looked like he'd been training for a while, noticed her and smirked. He leaned over to talk to his friend, and soon enough, whispers started spreading across the room. Is that really Chuck Norris's daughter? What's she doing here? She probably doesn't even know real karate. She's just here because of her dad. Chelsea heard some of what they said, but she kept going through her warm-up. She knew better than to react right away. Her father had taught her that real strength comes from staying calm, even when others try to provoke you. Still, it hurt a little. Not because they doubted her. It was more frustrating knowing they judged her without even knowing her. The head coach of the dojo, a man in his late 30s with a serious look and a loud voice, walked into the room. He clapped his hands together and called everyone to line up. Students formed 2 neat rows facing him. Chelsea took her place in line like everyone else. The coach scanned the room and then stopped when he saw her. He raised an eyebrow. "You must be Chuck Norris's daughter," he said, crossing his arms. Chelsea nodded politely. "Yes, sir." He gave a small laugh. "So, you're here to learn? Or are you just here for show?" A few students chuckled, nervously. Others looked around, unsure if this was a joke or a challenge. "I'm here to train," Chelsea replied calmly. The coach took a step closer. "You think you can hang with us? With real students who've been training for years?" Again, she stayed calm. "I'm not here to prove anything. I just want to work out and improve." But the coach wasn't done. "Well, we don't let just anyone walk in and take up space. If you're going to train here, you'll have to show us what you've got." There was silence for a moment. Then someone whispered, "This is going to be good." Chelsea looked at the coach and nodded again. "Okay." He pointed to a spot on the mat. "Let's see what you can do." The students quickly moved aside, forming a circle around them. Some looked excited, others curious. A few seemed skeptical. This wasn't supposed to be a fight, it was supposed to be a regular training session, but now it had turned into something else. The coach stepped onto the mat, rolling his shoulders and cracking his neck. He wore a black gi and had stripes on his belt. He clearly had experience. He motioned for her to come forward. Chelsea stepped into position, keeping her breathing steady. She closed her eyes for a second, focusing on the lessons her father had taught her. Stay calm. Listen to your body. Trust your training. They bowed to each other as tradition demanded. Then the coach raised his hand. Ready? She nodded, and the moment began. He came at her fast, throwing a quick jab followed by a low kick. Chelsea blocked both moves cleanly, moving with grace and precision. She didn't attack yet. She was watching, feeling him out. He was strong, yes, but a bit too eager. That was his first mistake. He threw another punch aiming for her midsection. She sidestepped it easily and countered with a light strike to his shoulder, just enough to remind him she was paying attention. He frowned and came at her harder this time. A spinning kick aimed at her head, but she ducked just in time, letting the wind from his leg pass above her. She rolled to the side and got back on her feet, still calm, still in control. Now the students were watching closely. Some were whispering again, but this time, their voices carried surprise instead of doubt. The coach was starting to look frustrated. He threw another combination, 2 punches and a knee strike. Chelsea blocked them all, her movements smooth, and practiced. She finally saw her opening. In one fluid motion, she stepped inside his guard, twisted her body, and launched a sharp spinning back kick straight to his chest. The impact was clean and precise, not overly aggressive, but powerful, enough to send him off balance. With a loud thud, the coach hit the mat. Silence fell over the room. 14 seconds. That's how long it had taken. Chelsea stepped back and offered her hand. The coach looked stunned for a moment, then slowly took her hand and stood up. He didn't say anything for a few seconds. When he finally spoke, his voice was lower, more respectful. "All right," he said. "You belong here." The students looked at each other. Some smiled, others nodded in approval. A few gave quiet cheers. Chelsea didn't celebrate. She simply bowed once again and stepped off the mat. She had done what she needed to do, not to win, not to embarrass anyone, but to show that she belonged. As she went back to warming up, the energy in the room had changed. The mocking whispers were gone. Now there was only quiet respect. And that, more than anything, was what she had come for. The room was quiet for a few seconds after the coach hit the mat. Some students stared in shock, others looked impressed, and a few just stood there trying to understand what had just happened. 14 seconds. That's all it took. 14 seconds for Chelsea Norris to show not only her skill but also her discipline, control, and respect for the art she had trained in her whole life. Still catching his breath, the coach slowly got up from the floor. His face was red. Not from anger, but from surprise. He looked at Chelsea, who stood still, arms by her side, waiting. She didn't smirk. She didn't raise her hands in victory. She simply waited for him to stand back on his feet. When he finally did, he gave her a slow nod. "You've got skill," he said, rubbing his chest lightly. "I didn't expect that." Chelsea smiled politely. "Thank you," she replied. "But I'm not here to impress anyone. I'm here to train." That moment changed the energy in the room. The students who had whispered behind her back now looked at her differently. Some were embarrassed for their earlier comments. Others were curious. How had she moved so fast? How had she stayed so calm? One student stepped forward. He was tall, maybe early 20s, and wore a white gi with a blue belt. "Can I ask you something?" he said. Chelsea nodded. "Did your dad teach you that move?" She smiled again. "He taught me a lot of things," she said. "But I worked hard to make them my own." The group seemed to relax after that. A few more students started asking questions. They wanted to know how long she had been training, what style she practiced, and whether she ever thought about competing. But instead of talking about herself, Chelsea turned the conversation back to them. "I'd rather hear about your journey," she said. "What made you start karate?" That surprised some of them. They expected her to talk about her famous father or maybe even brag a little, but she didn't. She listened, she asked real questions, and slowly the dojo felt like a place where everyone belonged. As the class continued, the coach walked over to the front of the room and clapped his hands together. "All right, everyone," he said. "Let's get back to training." They all lined up again, this time with new energy. Chelsea joined them, falling into line like any other student. No special treatment, no extra attention, just another person working hard to improve. Later that day, after the class ended, the same student who had mocked her earlier came up to her. He looked nervous. "Hey," he said. "I'm sorry for what I said before. I didn't mean to be rude." Chelsea looked at him calmly. "It's okay," she said. "We all have moments where we judge people too quickly." He nodded. "Still, I shouldn't have done that." "No harm done," she said with a smile. "If you want, maybe we can spar sometime." His eyes widened a little. "You're serious?" She laughed softly. "Of course. That's how we learn from each other." He smiled and gave a small bow. "Thanks." As she packed up her gear and got ready to leave, the coach approached her. "You handled that well," he said. "Most people would have taken advantage of that moment to show off." Chelsea shook her head. "This isn't about showing off. It's about growing stronger, together." He studied her for a second, then smiled. "You're welcome here, anytime." She thanked him and left the dojo, stepping out into the late afternoon sun. She felt good, not because she had proven herself, but because she had shown that strength comes in many forms, not just through kicks and punches, but through kindness, patience, and humility. Over the next few weeks, Chelsea kept coming back to the dojo. Each time she trained hard, helped other students when they needed guidance, and learned from the coaches. She never talked much about her father, but when someone asked, she always answered honestly and respectfully. One evening, during a regular sparring session, a younger student named Mia struggled with her moves. She kept missing her timing, and every time she tried to block, she was too slow. After one round, she sat down on the bench, frustrated. "I'll never get this right," she muttered. Chelsea noticed and walked over. She sat down beside her. "You think I didn't struggle too?" she asked gently. Mia looked at her. "You? Really?" Chelsea nodded. "When I was your age, I used to fall over my own feet sometimes. My dad told me that every mistake is a chance to grow." Mia sighed. "But I feel like I'm falling behind." "That doesn't matter," Chelsea said. "What matters is that you keep going. Let's try again. This time, let's take it slower." Mia hesitated, then nodded. Together, they went back onto the mat. Chelsea showed her how to shift her stance, how to breathe properly, and how to stay focused. Slowly but surely, Mia started getting the hang of it. After a while, Mia smiled. "Thanks," she said. Chelsea gave her a thumbs up. "Keep practicing, you're doing great." Word spread around the dojo about how helpful and kind Chelsea was. Students began looking up to her, not because of her name, but because of how she treated others. Even the coach noticed. "She's got heart," he told one of the senior students, "and she carries her father's legacy with pride without ever saying a word about it." Back home that night, Chelsea sat on the couch with her father. They watched a classic martial arts movie together, laughing at the old fight scenes. "So, how's the new dojo?" Chuck Norris asked casually. Chelsea smiled. "Good," she said. "People are starting to accept me for who I am." He looked at her proudly. "That's what matters most." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "Thanks for teaching me everything you did." He kissed the top of her head. "You made it your own. That's what makes me proud." The next day, as Chelsea walked into the dojo, she saw a new student standing near the entrance, looking unsure of himself. Without hesitation, she walked over and introduced herself. "Hi," she said warmly. "I'm Chelsea. Want me to show you around?" The boy smiled nervously. "Yeah, thanks." And just like that, another person found their place. Word about Chelsea Norris spread quickly, not just inside the dojo, but beyond it. What had started as a simple training session turned into something bigger. A video of her sparring with the head coach had somehow been recorded and shared online. It wasn't meant to go public, but someone had captured it on their phone and posted it without asking. Within hours, it was being watched by thousands. At first, Chelsea didn't even know it had gone viral. She was at home, helping her younger brother with his homework when her phone started buzzing nonstop. She checked once, then again, and soon realized that people were talking about her. Not just friends or family, but strangers. "Is this real?" her brother asked, looking at the screen. "You knocked out a guy in like 10 seconds? Chelsea rolled her eyes. It was 14. She corrected him with a smile. Her father walked into the room holding his phone. He looked serious but not upset. "You've got some attention," he said, handing her the phone. She took it and saw the video. Her stomach dropped a little. It wasn't that she was embarrassed, she just never wanted to be famous for fighting. That wasn't why she trained. But now people were watching, commenting, and sharing her name all over social media. Some messages were kind. "Wow, you're amazing. You moved so fast. Respect earned in 14 seconds. That's incredible. You carry your dad's legacy with pride." But not everyone was nice. She only won because of her dad. This is fake. No way she did that. She should stick to reality TV instead of karate. Chelsea read some of the comments, then closed the app. She didn't want to get caught up in what people were saying online. She knew better than to let others define who she was. Later that day, she called her best friend, Maya. "I don't know what to do," she admitted. "I just wanted to train and help others. I didn't ask for this." Maya laughed softly. "Well, you can't stop being awesome, right? People are going to notice." Chelsea sighed. "I guess." "You should respond to them," Maya suggested. "Not the haters, the people who are inspired." Chelsea thought about it. Maybe there was something good that could come from this. If people were watching, maybe they could learn something too. The next morning, she went back to the dojo. She wasn't sure how people would react. Would they treat her differently now? Would they act strange around her? As she stepped inside, the usual smell of wood and sweat greeted her. Students were warming up, stretching, chatting. And then someone noticed her. "Hey, look who's here, the 14-second wonder," one guy joked. Everyone turned and smiled. Some waved. Others gave her thumbs up. The head coach walked over, arms crossed. He raised an eyebrow. "So, internet star," he said with a smirk. "Ready to train, or are you going to take selfies today?" Chelsea grinned. "Let's train." Just like that, things felt normal again. After class, the coach pulled her aside. "I saw the video," he said. "You handled yourself well." Chelsea shrugged. "I just did what I was taught." He nodded. "That's what makes it special. You didn't show off, you showed discipline." She smiled. "Thanks." Later that week, she decided to post a short message online. Not to argue with people, but to share something meaningful. Karate isn't about proving you're stronger than others. It's about growing stronger within yourself. My dad taught me that. Every punch, every kick, every fall, it's part of the journey. I'm still learning, still growing. And if my story helps even one person feel like they belong, then I'm happy. The response was powerful. Thousands of people commented. Many thanked her for her words. Some shared their own stories, about being judged, about feeling like they didn't fit in, about finding strength through martial arts. One girl wrote, "I used to think karate was only for tough guys, but seeing you made me realize I can do it too. Thank you." Another message came from a boy who had struggled with confidence. "People make fun of me sometimes, but reading your words made me feel like I can try again." Chelsea read every message she could. She replied to some, encouraged others, and shared tips on how to stay focused and positive. She didn't become an influencer or start making videos for fame. Instead, she used her voice to help others believe in themselves. Weeks passed and life returned to normal, at least as normal as it could be with a few thousand new followers online. But Chelsea stayed true to herself. She kept training, kept helping students at the dojo, and kept growing stronger. One afternoon, a young girl walked into the dojo for the first time. She looked nervous, unsure of where to start. Chelsea noticed her standing near the entrance, clutching her bag tightly. She walked over with a warm smile. "Hi," she said gently. "Welcome, I'm Chelsea. Want me to show you around?" The girl looked surprised. "Wait, you're that Chelsea Norris?" Chelsea chuckled. "Yeah, but don't worry, I don't bite." The girl relaxed a little. "I saw your video. I wanted to try karate because of you." Chelsea's heart swelled. "Then you're in the right place." Together, they walked into the training area. The girl followed her, eyes wide with excitement. Back on the mat, life continued. Students trained, coaches taught, and somewhere in the middle of it all, Chelsea stood quietly, doing what she loved most, not for the spotlight, not for likes or shares, but for the art, the lessons, and the people who needed to see that strength comes in many forms. And in that moment she knew. She was exactly where she was meant to be. As the weeks passed, Chelsea Norris became more than just another student at the dojo. She became someone others looked up to. Not because she asked for attention, but because of how she carried herself. She trained hard, helped beginners find their footing, and always stayed humble. People started calling her Coach Chelsea, even though she wasn't officially one yet. One evening after class, the head coach, Mr. Daniels, walked over to where she was packing up her gear. "You've got something special," he said, leaning against the wall. "You know that?" Chelsea smiled while tying her belt. "I'm just doing what I love." He nodded. "That's why it works. People see that. They feel it when they train with you." She looked up, curious. "What are you saying?" "I think it's time you start helping me lead some classes," he said. "You've got the skill, the heart, and most importantly, the patience to teach others." Chelsea blinked in surprise. "Really? You mean it?" He chuckled. "Yeah, if you're okay with it." She thought about it for a second. Becoming a helper at the dojo meant more responsibility. It meant showing up early, staying late, and making sure every student felt welcome, even the ones who were nervous or unsure of themselves. "I'd love to," she said finally. "Thank you." Mr. Daniels gave her a firm nod. "Good. Then we'll start next week." From that day on, Chelsea's role at the dojo began to shift. She still trained like everyone else, but now she also helped guide students through moves, corrected stances, and offered words of encouragement when someone struggled. She didn't do it to impress anyone. She did it because she remembered what it was like to be the new person, standing at the edge of the room, wondering if she belonged. Soon, more students began asking her questions after class. Some wanted tips on footwork. Others asked how she stayed so calm under pressure. A few simply wanted to say thank you. One girl named Emily approached her one afternoon. She was quiet, with dark hair and big eyes that always seemed to be thinking. "Can I ask you something?" she said shyly. Chelsea smiled. "Of course." Emily hesitated before speaking. "How do you not get scared out there? When you spar, I mean..." Chelsea studied her for a moment, then said, "I used to get scared too. My dad taught me that fear isn't bad, it just means you care." Emily tilted her head. "What do you mean?" Chelsea sat down on the bench and patted the spot beside her. "Fear is like a warning light. It tells us something matters to us, but it doesn't have to stop us. We can learn to move with it instead of letting it hold us back." Emily listened carefully. "So, you still get scared sometimes?" Chelsea nodded. "Sure. Before every match, before every test, I feel it. But I remind myself why I'm there, and that helps me stay strong." Emily smiled softly. "Thanks. That actually makes me feel better." Chelsea gave her a friendly nudge. "Anytime." Over the next few months, the dojo changed in small but powerful ways. More girls started signing up. Some had seen Chelsea's video online and felt inspired. Others heard from friends that this was a place where they could grow without being judged. Even Mr. Daniels noticed the shift. "It's amazing," he told Chelsea one day. "You've brought something new here." She shrugged. "I didn't do it alone." "No," he agreed. "But you were the spark." Meanwhile, life outside the dojo kept moving. Chelsea continued balancing school, family, and training. Her social media following had grown, but she never posted for likes or fame. Instead, she shared short videos of basic karate moves, breathing techniques, and advice on staying focused and confident. Some people messaged her privately, sharing personal stories. "I started karate because of your video. Thank you. I was being bullied at school. Your words gave me courage. I used to think I wasn't strong enough. Now I train every week." Reading those messages made Chelsea realize something important. She had a chance to make a difference, not by fighting, but by inspiring. One weekend, she got an unexpected message from a woman named Sarah, a martial arts instructor from another city. "Hi Chelsea, I saw your video and read your posts. I run a youth program for kids who struggle with confidence and self-esteem. Would you ever consider visiting our dojo to meet the students and maybe give a small talk or demo? No pressure, just thought you might enjoy it." Chelsea read the message twice. She wasn't sure what to say at first. She had never done anything like that before. But the idea of meeting new students, sharing what she had learned and encouraging others made her heart beat faster, in a good way. She typed back, "Yes, I'd love to." A few weeks later, she found herself standing in front of a group of young students at a different dojo. Some were as young as 8, others were teenagers. They all watched her with wide eyes. "I'm not here to show off," she began. "I'm here to share something real." She talked about how she used to fall during practice, how she sometimes doubted herself, how she learned that strength isn't just about kicks and punches, it's about getting back up after falling, staying kind even when things get tough and believing in yourself even when others don't. The kids listened closely. Afterwards, she showed them a few simple moves and let them try. She helped correct their stances, high-fived them when they got it right, and reminded them that progress takes time. Afterward, a little boy came up to her. "You made me want to." "Keep trying," he said. Chelsea knelt down so they were eye level. That's all I ever hoped for. Back at home that night, she sat with her father again, watching another old movie. "You've been busy," he said with a smile. She laughed. "You could say that?" He looked at her proudly. "You're doing something bigger than yourself." Chelsea leaned into him. "I guess I am." He kissed the top of her head. "Keep going." And so she did. Not for the spotlight, not for praise, but for the people who needed to hear that they mattered, that they could be strong, that they could belong. And in every move she made, in every word she spoke, she proved that she was walking her own path, one full of purpose, passion, and heart. And time passed and Chelsea Norris kept growing, not just as a martial artist, but as a person who made a difference in quiet, powerful ways. The dojo became more than just a place for training. It became a home for people who needed support, encouragement, and a place where they felt like they belonged. One afternoon, Mr. Daniels called her over after class. "You've done a lot here," he said, wiping sweat from his forehead. "More than I think you even realize." Chelsea smiled, tying her belt. "I just try to help when I can." He shook his head. "It's more than that. You've changed how people see themselves, especially the ones who used to feel like outsiders." She looked around the room. Students were packing up, laughing, helping each other clean the mats. A few months ago, some of them had walked in feeling unsure, even scared. Now they stood taller, stronger, and with more confidence. "I'm just glad I could be part of this," she said softly. Mr. Daniels nodded. "You're ready for the next step." Chelsea blinked. "What do you mean?" He took a deep breath. "I want to officially name you an assistant instructor, not just helping out. This would be your role here." Her heart skipped a beat. She had helped teach classes before, but this was different. This was official. "Are you serious?" she asked. He gave her a firm look. "Only if you are." Chelsea didn't answer right away. She thought about all the times she had doubted herself, all the days she had walked into the dojo not knowing if she truly belonged. And now, standing there, surrounded by students who looked up to her, she realized something. She did belong. And not because of her name or her father, but because of who she had become. "I'd be honored," she said finally. Mr. Daniels smiled. "Then welcome to the team." That night, she told her dad over dinner. His eyes lit up. "That's amazing," he said proudly. "You've worked hard for this," she smiled. "I never imagined I'd be teaching others one day." Chuck Norris leaned back in his chair. "You always had it in you. You just needed to believe it." They talked late into the evening. He shared stories of when he first started teaching, of the struggles he faced and the lessons he learned along the way. "The best teachers aren't the ones who shout the loudest," he said. They're the ones who listen, guide, and care. Chelsea listened carefully, taking every word to a heart. The next week, she stood at the front of the class for the first time as an official instructor. Students lined up waiting for her to speak. Some had been there since the beginning, others were new faces still finding their rhythm. She took a deep breath. "I'm not here to impress anyone," she began. "I'm here to help you grow. Karate isn't just about kicks and punches. It's about discipline, respect, and believing in yourself even when things get tough." A few students nodded. Others stood a little straighter. "Today," she continued, "we'll work on focus, balance, and control. And most importantly, we'll support each other." And so they did. Over the following months, Chelsea found her rhythm as a teacher. She trained with the students, corrected their moves, and celebrated their progress. She remembered what it was like to struggle, so she never pushed too hard. Instead, she encouraged, guided, and reminded everyone that growth takes time. One student in particular stood out: Emily, the shy girl who once asked Chelsea why she wasn't afraid during sparring. Week after week, Emily practiced harder. She asked questions, stayed after class for extra help, and slowly began to shine. One day she came up to Chelsea with a big smile. "I got my yellow belt," she said excitedly. Chelsea gave her a high five. "That's amazing. I knew you could do it," Emily grinned. "Thanks to you." Chelsea felt a warmth in her chest. She had been where Emily was, unsure, nervous, needing someone to believe in her. Now, she was the one giving that gift to others. Outside the dojo, life continued to move forward. Her online presence grew, but she stayed true to herself. She only posted when she had something meaningful to share: tips on staying calm, advice on building confidence, and reminders that strength comes in many forms. Some people messaged her regularly. "You helped me find courage. Because of you, I joined karate. Your words remind me that I matter." Reading those messages reminded her why she kept going, not for fame or attention, but for the people who needed hope. One day, Mr. Daniels walked up to her again. No, he said. "You could open your own dojo one day." Chelsea raised an eyebrow. "Me? Really?" He nodded. "You've got what it takes. You inspire people. You lead with heart." That's rare. She thought about it. It wasn't something she had ever planned, but maybe one day she could create a space where others could grow, just like this place had helped her. "I'll keep that in mind," she said with a smile. Back home that night, she sat beside her father again. They watched another old movie, laughing at the same scenes they always did. "I'm proud of you," Chuck Norris said quietly. Chelsea leaned her head on his shoulder. "Thanks, Dad. You've built something real," he said. "Not because of who I am, but because of who you are." She smiled. "That means everything." As the movie played, she thought about her journey, the moments of doubt, the challenges, the victories both big and small. She had started at the dojo hoping to train. Along the way, she found purpose, friendship, and a way to help others believe in themselves. And now she was walking her own path, strong, confident, and full of heart. Not because she was Chuck Norris's daughter, but because she was Chelsea Norris, and she was just getting started.